Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining our team of students at Assuaged. And today we will be speaking about a sensitive topic matter involving racism towards the AAPI communities. So I'd love to hand it over to Jen to take over the show, and we'll start out with the video.
Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. So yeah. Um, should I introduce myself first, or okay, yeah,
Go for it.
okay, yeah. I'm Jen, and I'm a student intern at Assuaged, and I usually work with marketing and data. But today, I'm here to, um, as as a as also an Asian person, talk about the recent issues about racism towards the AAPI community, and discuss how we can unite and how we can still see the positivity and how we can come out of this stronger. So first, and today's focus would be around how we can help so the AAPI community's students and how we can improve um, how we can help students in this hardship. So yeah, here's a video. Here's a video of made by a student who, and it's a share. It's a video of quotes from Asian students or Asian American and Pacific Islanders who had things in their mind that couldn't who couldn't express it to other people. So yeah, here it goes. Can you hear? Okay. And I also wanted to, so those are some quotes from Asian American and Pacific Islander students. And so going from that, I also wanted to show you guys one of the speakers at Let's Talk HCSC, which graciously provided us this resource to learn and educate ourselves about the issues around us today. One second. And
Really provoking video and very informative and emotionally just touching. So thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah, I mean, I can just relate to about over 90% of these experiences because I felt, all of that too, being assumed that I'm good at math, being assumed that, and, having the name Jin, which is unusual in America. So, when I introduce myself, I have to repeat myself or correct someone or have someone, keep, calling me the wrong name. But I have to kind of, deal with it, right? So yeah. So these are very, very real. These are not just personal, just one person. These are very common experiences for me, and I'm sure any other international students in the U.S. So yeah, I thought this was very important to show because I know these sometimes when these aren't discussed enough. So yeah. And next we'll uh, hear more about, I think so hear more about, so what do we do from now on, and how should we go about this? So there you guys.
I think that we all need these interpersonal mirrors to have our experiences reflected and contrasted and
Oh, something happened to the audio there.
I think you have to unmute yourself, Jen.
Okay. My bad. Let me just go back a little bit.
I think that we all need these interpersonal mirrors to have our experiences reflected and contrasted and validated, especially when these experiences are unique or challenging in some manner. And when these mirrors aren't being presented, students not only miss the opportunity to explore the nuances of their own identity, there's also the danger of reinforcing the unspoken message that their cultural and racial experiences aren't worthy at all. Mm-hmm. This can lead to some individuals deciding to check important aspects of themselves at the door in order to gain a sense of belonging in the larger community. So when students abandon core parts of who they are, we all lose. Storytelling helps to expand our capacity to accept ourselves and others without judgment and with humility and curiosity at the center. So inviting people to share their stories in order to listen and learn from one another normalizes this idea that we universally don't have it all figured out, because understanding our identity is dynamic and it's an evolving process that requires time and some level of vulnerability. So when we individually and collectively pause and we bear witness to those who courageously speak their truth to how things are, not how we want them to be, our hearts just naturally open to all of the expansive possibilities of how to make sense of our own lives. And there's nothing like this moment when you say something in a large group and you notice other people's eyes getting bigger or their head nodding spontaneously to acknowledge that you've just unearthed something that needed to be said. So these aha moments, they invite curiosity and intrigue and even hope, because it helps us begin to challenge those limits of the binary and the narrow thinking that has been projected onto us by others. This is I think really, really important part, because many students these days are facing a culture of shoulds. You should be a doctor, you should be getting straight A's, you should be studying for your SATs instead of hanging out with your friends. And many students, regardless of race, are feeling a lot of external pressure these days to meet other people's high expectations. You could see it in some of the early comments that you showed just before I had a chance to talk. And for those in the Pan Asian community, the pressure is layered or intensified when they are sent multiple cultural, sometimes mixed, contradictory, or double-bind messages. And when people feel, when feelings of dissonance or tensions are not contextualized or named, but are felt, it's easy for someone to internalize that what they're sensing is a result of their own deficiency or failures rather than because of the complex cultural or racial circumstances. And as a result, some may struggle in silence and believe that they're the only ones going through this experience. And this can lead to unconscious feelings of shame, self-doubt, or even isolation. So storytelling, which serves to counterbalance this perception, provides the space, and I would, perhaps the most importantly, it provides the permission for a more compassionate view of ourselves and others. Another topic that I wanted to highlight is the importance of talking about the model minority myth, which is the stereotype that all people of Asian descent are quiet or polite or wealthy, hardworking, good at math. And so even though we've been talking about this concept for decades, this damaging false belief and overgeneralization is still alive and very present within many schools. And in my experience, it's rarely openly discussed or challenged institutionally. So as a result, resources, outreach efforts, and creation of vital affinity spaces, the recruitment of Pan-Asian adults, and the teachings of Asian American history are limited or even non-existent. In addition, the racial issues and concerns unique to the Pan-Asian community may also be left out of the diversity, equity, inclusion strategy of the school. This is at the same time, as someone mentioned earlier, that the research is showing that the rates of bullying and acts of hate towards people of Asian descent are on the rise. It opens up the likelihood that when, not if, students of Asian descent face microaggressions, which is like 1,000 cuts of discrimination, or experience overt acts of oppression, they will be less likely to come forward and talk about it with others. When any act of hatred is left unchallenged, we all lose. For Pan-Asian students who are newer to living in the US, acts of racial discrimination may be especially disorienting because it often is the first time that they're directly faced with being racialized. And for some, they may feel the impact of racism, but because they don't have the name for it, or they don't have words for it, they don't maybe understand the historical dynamics behind it, they aren't sure how to make sense of the interaction. So nonetheless, the judgment and the aggression towards them still can activate the nervous system. And without intentional spaces to process what's happened and how it's impacted them personally, there's nowhere for this toxic energy to go.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think she touches on a lot of important points, and especially her first point about about how we represent ourselves. I think we also have to work on that and see how we can improve, or not just improving, but making an environment that's safe for everyone, and everyone's respected, no one's uncomfortable, and we're in an environment where we can freely AAPI community can also comfortably without having to maybe explain themselves or having to break expectations that weren't caused by us, like, because some of these expectations or assumptions aren't made by us, and they aren't accurate. And so we should try to really represent and listen and learn. I think that's the most important thing, is that I think we should all be willing to, she mentioned being, with humility and, with a real intention to learn, learn about us, and learn about the Asian community, because I feel like assumptions happen when things are unknown. It's because, this person doesn't know who I am. So I'm sure that person can try to guess, based on what they saw, and that's how assumptions are made, right? And then that becomes, but somehow that got normalized, and I think so. And so what I'm trying to get at is that guess, yeah, we could. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Lost my chain of thought. But,
yeah, no, that what I wanted to add to what you're saying there. So, in terms of what is going on in the world, with all of this, what exactly do you think it might stem from, and why? Can you maybe elaborate a little on that?
Okay, sure. I could actually I could show another video that sort of touches on the past as well. I was planning to show in the end, but it's completely fine to show now as well. I could 1 second share that screen. Okay. This is a shorter video, and also there are celebrities, and they talk. Each of the celebrity talks about the history and some historical events that showed that this issue isn't just new. It's not just happening. It was it rooted back all the way to history. So yeah, I'll show you guys a video. How do I?
2021. 6 women were among the victims of a horrific shooting in Georgia. They were grandmothers, mothers, daughters, sisters, and wives. They were killed because they were Asian. But anti-Asian violence is not new. It is part of our collective memory.
As the families in Georgia mourn and memorialize the lives of their loved ones, we remember the history of racism our community has faced. In 1875, the Page Act passes, banning Chinese women from entering the United States. It's the first federal law to limit immigration.
In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act passes, prohibiting Asian immigrants from becoming U.S. citizens. Its discriminatory practices survived for over 80 years. In 1885, 28 Chinese Americans are lynched and murdered in Rock Springs, Wyoming.
1930. Across California, hundreds of Filipino American farm workers injured and scores killed by rioters. 1942. 120,000 Japanese Americans incarcerated in concentration camps by our own government.
1982. Vincent Chin beat to death by 2 men with a baseball bat right before his wedding. Mistaken for being Japanese, accused of stealing their jobs. 1989. 5 Vietnamese and Cambodian children killed, more than 30 wounded. Stockton, California.
In the wake of September 11, 2001, attacks against Muslims and South Asians surge. 2012, 6 Sikh Americans killed in a temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin.
This past year, almost 4,000 incidents of anti-Asian violence, including murders of our elders simply walking in their own neighborhoods.
Memory is the antidote to death. Solidarity is the answer to silence.
As activist Valerie Kaur once asked, what if this is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb?
Today, we birth something new, knowing it's up to all of us to keep each other safe and shine a light together.
Very informative and provoking, emotionally provoking. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah. So it goes all the way back to history, and it roots back to when. So again, back when, I guess, the first time that the Asian population has to start to appear more in the U.S. And I guess at the time it was unusual. We looked different. We spoke a different language. We ate different food. We played different games. We had different marriage ceremonies. We had different so many different things. And I think and I think in the past, especially, I think not knowing how to deal with new things, new people, or a new concept. Now in modern days, of course, if there's something new, you learn. You ask, and you try to get to know, and you start from ground zero, right? You start to build up all that. So this is what it is, and you get to build up what that is, and you figure it out, and then now that's not foreign to you. Now but I think historically, I guess, like, also, like, when we were new, it was not taken that way. It was not, we weren't asked questions, or just, it could have been very, very general, just, so what's your name? Oh, that's your name. What you're from, what do you like to eat? That sort of thing didn't happen. It was more like, you're different from us, and different is not good. And that, I think that and then that started like a negative spiral, and then everything's not good about us, and I think that's how it started off. Seeing with these negative connotations, or these assumptions that happened. I think they come from just that, like, we were different, and we weren't we were well known to the American people at the time, and I think it wasn't taken, but that's in the past, and we're trying to, and then that's in the past, and I'm trying to just, but today I kind of want to also go more on, so what's happening in today in between students, and how it can also impact not just the students, but members at Assuaged, because there are so many experiences that are like, we haven't spoken out, because again, it's very hard for us to challenge these things, because we feel like we're trying to we're not, we feel that we're not part of this US community. We still feel very foreign. We still feel very excluded in an unfair way, because it's okay that it's okay that other people might not know that I can speak perfectly fine English right off the bat. Maybe I didn't speak yet, so how can they know? And that's okay. But I guess still, like, there are experiences that really hurt us, and hurt college students who have a lot of pressure to get good grades, and then graduate, get a job, basically kind of we have that pressure to be succeed despite all these challenges, despite all this hardships we face. We just have to kind of suck it up and get good grades, and that's why it's so hard to speak out and storytell, because so in our perspective, our employers are Americans essentially, and it's hard to challenge towards these things when my employer is going to be a US person who might not like the fact that I'm not docile, or I'm not yeah, not the fact that I'm not docile, or maybe they could take it as a negative sentiment, although it's completely not. It's just that it's not like it's not that we want special treatment. It's just, just complete respect, and just, if you don't know things about us, ask and learn. Like, and isn't that, what happens between, if I was just a white male, if I was a white male and there was another fellow white male, I don't think, they would perceive it as something like trying to, I thought, because I'm a white male, this guy's supposed to be the same. I thought he's going to be the same as me, but obviously he's different, right? He's a different person. He likes different food. He likes different sports. His parents have different jobs. There's so many different things that, we're human. We have distinct personalities. We have distinct stories. We have distinct families and culture, and also the differences between, being Chinese, being Korean, and difference between Korean American and Chinese American. That's also a whole, different experience. And so, because we're all so different, it's, there shouldn't be an assumption, and it should be that the approach should be just, ask, just be like, what do you like to eat? I like this. And then I could explain to you, I could maybe even like cook myself and invite you over and have you try my, Korean dish. And I think that would be such a, happy scene, rather than, yeah, isn't it rude for someone to assume that, let's say, assume that person likes something or something like, it's, yeah, I think, yeah, we just want to be treated, the way you would treat a fellow American. And, I feel like, because, they're just, okay, this one is super personal. I guess this might not be everyone, but for me, this culture of common etiquette at like a restaurant or a cafe. How we always say thank you, please, have a great day, you too. I had so many instances where I was ignored, or I would, like, there would be a line. I know that especially franchises, they have, manuals, customer service manuals, right? They have to say, oh, how are you today? Or, they have to say, thank you, please. They have to kind of do that. It's required. But somehow they got to me and they don't speak. They don't say anything. They kind of just look at me, waiting for me to order. And yeah, that was very, this is not, and that wasn't just once. It was just throughout my years in the US. I don't know why. I don't get the same thank you or same have a nice day back. I say it. I tell the server, like, thank you. Oh, have a great day. And I try not to. I'm sure it's not all. It's not. I hope, and also I don't think it's all racially motivated, but I think at least out of my hundreds of instances, at least one of them, I'm sure at least one of them was sort of racially motivated, and yeah, I mean, and that's not, maybe I feel like I'm still holding back, because I have, so this might, this is a big one, which is when I was a freshman. So this was my first few months in the US, freshman, Boston University, excited. I've been preparing this for, my whole life, in high school. And I come and I'm looking at the subway map to see, where things are. And then I also saw three, I think they were either high schoolers, three white boys, and then they, were walking behind me, and then they didn't even whisper. They just used the word chink behind me because I had earphones on, but I wasn't really playing anything, so I can hear them loud and clear. But yeah, to hear that derogatory term was very, very shocking. That wasn't in my plans, that wasn't in my vision when I was coming to the US. And one of the videos they say, hey, we come to the US and this is the first time I'm conscious about being Asian. Like this is, in Korea, obviously, like in Korea, everyone's Korean, right? So it's okay. I feel very, involved and respected. But, coming to the US and then, yeah, that was the first time I was racialized or, looked not as a person, but like somehow like this identity as an Asian can be separated, with human. I think, a person with an identity, it's different preferences. I have a great I love my family, I really like, Korean chicken stew, I really miss those. And I feel like, yeah, I should be asked those and not why I've been asked by my, I've been asked why my English is good. It's like, why, being asked why your English is good is it's a very hard question to answer. I feel like I'm not sure what the person's intention is, because usually when we are dealing with these experiences, it's not always this bad guy with, he doesn't look, it's not like the movies where it's a villain, how they look bad, they look, dangerous, or they look like criminals. No, it's not that. It's very, very common people with very, very, very common people who are just around you. Maybe it could be your friend, or it could be, like just a regular, like a common person. And yeah, they say that. They ask me like why my English is good, and I don't know what to say. I learned the language, and that's how I know how to speak English. And I studied very hard. There you go. But again, just now, sometimes it's hard to, I feel very uncomfortable saying I study hard, because it feels like I'm perpetuating that assumption. I'm perpetuating, I'm worsening the stereotype, because I am actually not pretty good at math. I am actually a hard worker. I like to be kind to people. I like to listen, but that's not because I'm an Asian. It's because, other experiences, that any other person with a different racial background would have, I feel like, yeah, like, let's see. Since this is a discussion, if it's okay, Luna, can I ask you a question? Just let's say, what's your hobby? What's your favorite hobby?
I'd say either just going outside or doing stuff with my dogs, or going to yoga.
Let's see. How did you get to enjoy that? Enjoy your hobby.
What do you mean by that?
Just like, I guess, how did you come to that? How did you lead to, literally just
just get into it.
Yeah, like how did you get into it?
So I mean, I've always just loved animals. I grew up vegan and stuff, and so I loved animals. And so eventually, when I went to college, I adopted my own animals after I was volunteering at the animal shelter there. And then as for yoga, I think it's just something that I enjoy doing. My mom does it sometimes, and so yeah, I just started getting into it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And yeah, see, like, and I'm trying, and my point is that, that goes the same for us too. Our hobbies,
Yeah.
How we became us, how I became myself today, it's the same. And we also had, I also, have, I like sports because my dad also, he works out also every day, and I was inspired, since I was a kid with his, that's because he told me that, hey, I work out so that I can stay healthy enough to continue working, so that I can provide you and your mom and your sister, food, housing, and that's why, that's the reason he runs every day, and that inspired me to love sports, right? And that's the same thing with a lot of these characteristics that I have, that math, I don't know how to say that, math, I'm just, I studied, I happen to be good at math, but there are so many of my friends who aren't good at math, or Asian, I have a friend who, his test scores weren't too great, his grades weren't great, but yeah, he works out his life and he's fine, and he's Asian, and that doesn't, and that just shows, how everything about us also the same. Like, we also have family, we also have family influences, we also have school influences, the same. We're not any different, how we develop. And I just feel like it's this sort of scope or expectation, that the bias, I think that's the right word, seeing that we are good at math, quiet and diligent, and then assuming that, and then getting to know me, then I feel like that's confirmation bias, right? And then you assume, oh, so my assumption towards Asians were right, and then I think that happens at times. And in order to tackle that is to keep on communicating, and also sharing a attitude of humility and learning, like really wanting to learn that person. And then I think that could prevent from especially international students to feel isolated, because we're here, I'm far, I can only video chat my parents early in the morning or late at night because of time differences, and they ask me how I'm doing. And actually, a few days ago, I actually stepped on glass, cut my foot, hurt a little, and I had to deal with that myself. And and then I call my family, and then they ask how I'm doing. I don't tell them that. I tell them I'm fine, I'm doing great, I'm eating, I'm exercising, and I'm doing fine in school. I'm working hard on my internships. I'm also job searching, and I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. I'm just fine. But I can't tell them I got a cut. I got a big cut on my foot. I can't tell them that, because I don't want them to worry. So that's the perspective of a lot of international students. We also we don't want to, not only, it's not about, also it's not really like disappointment, but it's also we don't want to have our families worry about us. So we kind of, and from that, so who can we talk to then with our hardships is it's you guys, like you guys are the ones who can help us out in these situations, just because as you reach out, and you show that because of your care, and the fact that you asked and you were genuine, and you want to know, you want to learn, or you want to get to know and stuff. And that's a very welcoming and a shed of light to people who like us, who can't really tell anyone about our hardships, because again, we're afraid to also to speak out because we're afraid to perpetuate all these assumptions. Again, like I don't, through this I don't want to be seen as the Asian who works hard. I'm just Jin, and I work hard. Before I'm Asian, I'm Jin.
Yeah.
See, there we go. Tong. I'm sure Tong also. Yeah, exactly. Tong also probably feels how I felt when she was a student, and even now she might she's in Baltimore, and she has to tell others she's okay, and she might be doing that, and I'm doing that. So in order to and so yeah, I think a good thing is good solution would be helping us speak out, and supporting us, and yeah. Well, what do you guys think?
I very just blown away and proud of you, Jen, for coming out of your shell and being brave enough to discuss this sensitive topic, and how it's affected you on multiple levels. So I would love to, because I know you took some time to prepare these slides. I'd love to see more of the analytical side of what you prepared. Yeah.
Okay, well, actually, Luna actually helped me. Luna actually helped me. She made the presentation. So, wait, actually, Luna, do you wanna
Sure.
go over your slides?
So I guess I just wanted to start with like some of the background on the anti-Asian racism that's been occurring, and so I'm sure we can like talk more about it and like maybe the background on why it's happening, currently. But I think just going back on what Jen was saying earlier, and like when you were asking, or when Cynthia was asking, like why is this happening all of a sudden? I think the thing is that it's been happening, ever since history. But I think maybe with just like social media and that kind of stuff, maybe it's just easier to see that it's happening. And then also just, with the pandemic, I don't necessarily want to get too political about it, but, there was a lot of sentiment going around with the pandemic. Obviously coronavirus did start in China. And so I think a lot of people had that ignorance, because it started in China. And yes, coronavirus, it affected our lives a lot. But the thing is, like, you can't, blame China. Like, it could have happened anywhere. And the virus spread because, in the US especially, like, it was because, like, we weren't prepared for it. But it had nothing to do with Asians. But I think a lot of people were ignorant and just racist about it. And so they were blaming Asians. And people also, like Jen was saying, they're not educating themselves, or they don't know, like, they kind of just assume, like, this person's Chinese when they could be, any other type of Asian group. And so just a lot of resentment. I don't know really what the cause of it completely. But then I added these statistics of a lot of the Asian hate incidents that have occurred. And it said that 3,700 have occurred. But what I was reading is there's actually a lot more of these occurring, because a lot of people aren't going to report it. And I don't know, I think that could be from fear and whatnot, but there's definitely a lot more. And, even if these are the ones reported, I'm sure there's a lot of like smaller incidents that occur on a day-to-day basis, because you might not necessarily report something that's a lot smaller, I guess. And then I just added like what we were going to talk about today. I think you're muted.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah. I think I fully shared my experience. I think we should kind of discuss also like So what should we do, and how we can help? How do we go about it from now? And there are a lot of actually like educational sources, such as documentary. There's also a movie. There's also a movie named titled Mainland, directed by Miao Wang, and I can actually link. Can I link this on the show? So yeah, they have this movie, and there are so many. There are already many petitions and organizations collecting donations to supporting the community with improving the safety of the common people, because even recently there have been attacks against the elderly as well, who are defenseless. And so I think it's important to kind of acknowledge that and be more aware of your surrounding. If you see someone, an elderly walking alone, don't stare, but also keep a eye out just in case. Maybe those little things keep us safe and show that your sincere care. So yeah. So this website is Talk HSC, which was organized by Professor Josephine Kim. She is a faculty at Harvard Graduate School of Education, and she's the founder of this Let's Talk HGSC, and this organization holds a lot of conferences and talks dealing with racism towards the AAPI community. So you guys can all check that out. They have another event soon. I think it's on April 29th. They're talking about how to help the AAP or support the AAPI community, especially students in Zoom lectures or like the Zoom environment. And also the video of the history video on YouTube. You can search it up Together by Bao Nguyen, and then they also have the donation, the AAPI Community Fund, right next to the video, so you guys can all check that out as well. And those were some resources. And I kind of want to conclude or finalize that like the most important thing is that you guys, I think there's been miscommunication, there's been some misunderstandings, and that caused us to sort of steer away from each other. But the way to come together is to really learn about each other and have that sort of erasing every assumptions you had made, and then starting from ground zero and starting to learn, starting to start from ground zero, like start to learn who we are as a person, like each person around you, and take interest in how they as a person, not as a common person, just ask questions, general questions, but don't suggest, don't try to show expectations or have pre-assumptions, or don't try to confirm any guesses, things that you're not sure of. I think it's okay to ask, if obviously in a sensible way, in a kind, respectable way. I think anyone would be happy to answer and clarify for you. And I also wanted to take the time to sort of have a Q&A. Also, I just want to say, like, for this Q&A, it's okay to be a little less scared, or like, I know there are questions where it's hard to ask, if, like, you know, people, you're not sure if this is offensive, you're not sure if this might be, you know, uncomfortable, and you want to ask. I think right now, for a few minutes, I kind of wanted to, you know, take it in and answer those as well, just to kind of relieve sort of that, you know, the unknown, you know. Yeah. So if you guys have any like questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah. So what kind of empowered you and inspired you to be able to come forward and authentically express, you know, from such a place of love and light and acceptance, and standing up for others in your communities and other communities? As you were saying, the elderly has been, they've been attacked, and, you know, African Americans from the George Floyd case. There are just so many elements to judgment and discrimination. I'd love to hear you emphasize on what empowered you to tap into that. Jin, did he freeze?
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I'm back.
Yay.
Okay. I guess until now, yeah, I just didn't think, I thought, you know, going back to the part of the video that I showed, about, sorry, how it came, right. So all of these problems I started to kind of internalize, you know, take these instances, you know, blame these uncomfortableness, or like the way I'm treated is because of my, you know, maybe my insecurities, or it's from my, like, my weaknesses. But now that I've been, you know, recently there were more resources available and more people asking about these issues and more people interested. And also I had, you know, the support from Assuaged to really be myself, and, you know, this positive environment where I was welcomed, and that really gave me the strength to sort of not to face my fears. And also, now that I know that this was, there are issues that aren't caused by me, but it could still relate to me, and I can help that. And after I realized that, you know, I think I didn't really hesitate and, you know, think about, standing up and advocating this issue. So, and also, you know, so yeah, I also want to really, like, thank Assuaged and Cynthia and Luna for, you know, helping out on this. And yeah, it's really inspiring. So thank you guys.
We're happy to be here to support, and just thank you so much again for raising these issues, addressing them in a professional and loving manner. And I'd love to ask Luna, do you have anything to add, love, before we tie everything?
Yeah. So I don't have like a specific question, but I just want to say, I mean, I think it probably did take a lot of courage to really just speak up about this. I personally am, like, I'm a quarter Filipino, so like I have, you know, Asian family. I pass as white, so I've never really had to deal with, like, you know, any racism personally, but, you know, my family has. And so I think it's really just, you know, it's interesting hearing about your perspective and other people's perspectives. And I think, I think going back on like where to go moving forward, like education, I think is just a major thing. I think while there are some people that, are directly being racist because of, whatever is going on, I think a lot of people are really uneducated. And a lot of people also, as far as like the stereotyping and stuff goes, they think that like, saying Asians are good at math and that kind of stuff isn't going to be harmful, and they don't really realize like the harm that that's doing. So I think we just, especially as white people, we need to educate ourselves, and we need to do what we can to support other people, especially when, it is the white people generally being racist towards, other groups. And so, yeah, just, calling out people for a lot of those little things. So I think people will say things that I think genuinely some people don't realize what they're saying and realize that, oh, that's kind of offensive. And so really calling people out on those things, even as little as they are, I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. Thank you, Lena.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. Thank you. We have students on the chat. Thanking you so much for opening up, and both of you, Jen and Luna, for being here. It's just been really meaningful. And Mama Sky, Thane's mom, just logged on, and she is very inspired and fascinated by different cultures and does not understand how those disparities can come about. And speaking and just adding a touch of what you were talking about, is I've also felt discrimination from a disability standpoint. And I think, like I was saying earlier, there's so many elements to these kind of issues, and I do believe that Mama Sky is talking about fear that keeps us from each other. I agree. The fear of differences, the fear of joining forces. There's just so many elements of fear as well. So thank you so much, Mama Sky, for tapping in on that. And Jen and Luna for being here. This is going to make an amazing podcast. We're taking our contents and we're really crafting educational pieces to educate, advocate, empower, inspire. So thank you guys for being a part of that.
Thank you for the opportunity and the support. I was really nervous getting into this, but yeah, everyone at Assuaged, including Cynthia and Luna, Tong, and everyone here at this podcast, thank you for your support and interest. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, guys. This was an amazing chat. And for those of you that are new or tuning in at a later time, please join us on Wednesdays and Fridays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every week we have different matters that we're discussing, including our celebrity features. So please do tune in and join us. And thank you so much for you guys showing up and just delivering such meaningful content. All right, you guys, we'll see you later.
See you later.
Bye.